Good morning, colleagues and members of the Capitol community. I rise to memorialize the life and spirit of Marc Hanson, a member of our Senate family who died suddenly of heart failure in his home on the morning of Wednesday, August 25th, here in Sacramento. Marc Brandon Hanson was born on August 21st, 1975 in Visalia, California, to Joyce and Russ Hanson, who are here today with us in the gallery along with other members of Marc's family, including his wife Shana, their sons Jasper and Enzo, his brother Steve and Steve's wife Erin, and their two children, Marc's niece and nephew Ella and Jacob. Marc attended Mount Whitney High School in Visalia, where in addition to his studies, he excelled in soccer and especially in water polo, in which he earned All-American honors. Marc attended college at Santa Clara University, where he majored in philosophy and political science and where he also played on Santa Clara's water polo team. During his junior year in college, Marc spent a semester studying at American University in Washington, D.C., where he took what turned out to be his first steps toward an eventual career in advocacy and public service, starting with his tenure that year as an intern on Capitol Hill. After graduation from Santa Clara, Marc went on to earn a master's in urban planning from UCLA. After completing his studies at UCLA, Marc and a friend traveled, first to Barcelona and then across Europe, after which Marc then spent nearly a year in Buenos Aires, Argentina, working toward his goal of becoming fluent in Spanish. Having achieved that goal, in 2003, Marc joined the Peace Corps, where his service took him to La Ceiba, Honduras, where he did community development work, and then to El Salvador, where he served as an election observer. Returning to the U.S. after his time in the Peace Corps, Marc embarked on the career path that would eventually bring him here with us. Inspired by his parents' examples of community participation and civic engagement, and guided by the social justice teachings of his Jesuit education, for the next 2 decades, Marc would dedicate himself to a life of advocacy and public service, always with the same singular focus of improving people's lives. He worked as a community and political organizer for Unite Here and SEIU, as a legislative aide with a focus on foreign policy for Congressman Sam Farr, as a senior advocate for Refugees International, and as a senior associate with the Washington office on Latin America. After returning to California in 2016, Marc served as district director for Congresswoman Norma Torres, as my district director during my first term in office, and then as district director for Congressman Gil Cisneros, before rejoining my team, first as the manager of my most recent campaign, and then as my chief of staff following its successful conclusion, an outcome in which he played an integral and invaluable role. Marc and his wife Shana met in 2007 when they were both living in D.C. when they were introduced by a housemate of Marc's who correctly predicted that their shared commitments to human rights and social justice, their mutual interests in Latin America, and their common traits of personal warmth, compassion, and festive spirit would make them a perfect match. All of their friends recall how Marc and Shana instantly fell for each other and then, over the subsequent months and years, built a profound and deeply loving relationship that would serve as the foundation on which they would build a loving family. Jasper Hanson, the older of the two wonderful boys, was born in D.C. in 2014, with little Enzo Hanson following 3 years later upon their return to California. You may be able to see Jasper and Enzo Hanson up in the gallery with Shana. In addition to being smart and spirited young people, you'll also note that both Jasper and Enzo are both blessed with that unique amalgamation of Marc and Shana's awesome hair. Marc was many things: a smart and dedicated public servant, an inveterate adventurer, a roving and curious intellect, and a terrific colleague and friend, but more than anything else, he was a wonderful husband, son, and father. Marc was never happier than when participating in his children's activities, especially Jasper's soccer, or when serving as their favorite playmate or the leader of their shared adventures. A singular feature of their new home here in Eastland Park was the sound of laughter percolating out of their backyard from Marc, Jasper, and Enzo at the end of a typical day. We will all miss that laughter. Jasper and Enzo and Shana, obviously most of all. We here in the Capitol, where many were still just getting to know Marc in the midst of a very challenging year, will also dearly miss his spirit, his energy, his optimism, and his idealism. The photo of Marc at the front of the chamber captures the essence of those qualities well. This was Marc as we all know him, happy, engaged, so full of energy, always ready to connect. And connect he did. Since his passing, I've been amazed at just how many people Marc not only touched, but touched profoundly. The outpouring of grief and admiration and compassion from people who knew Marc, both back in the district, here in Sacramento, and in all manner of places far and wide, has been nothing short of astounding. And as we stand here today in the chamber, I'm struck by two things. First, how this space, populated by generations of public servants and animated by purpose and service, is exactly the kind of place Marc was made for. The second part, for me now, is among the saddest aspects of the pandemic, that because of the restrictions that it has imposed, Marc never really got to spend time here in the chamber, in the midst of our work, the way it's always been done, with senators and chiefs and staffers passing in and out, gathering together, sharing information, gossiping, sometimes scheming, sometimes feuding, but always engaged in a shared endeavor that, while frequently imperfect, is nevertheless fundamentally noble. This is something worth considering, especially at moments like this, today, in the last challenging throes of a legislative session. Marc, with his irrepressible spirit and his unrebuttable optimism, never lost sight of this, not once. And for that, I know I speak for our entire team when I say that we're not only better public servants for having had the chance to share in that, but better people as well. This coming Sunday, September 12th, family and friends will celebrate Marc's life at 1:30 p.m. at Holy Spirit Church here in Sacramento, to be followed by a block party near the church on Weller Way. Here, this morning, on the last day of session, we're doing Marc's memorial at the start of our day, since nobody can ever really say how the last day of session will unfold. And as we make our way through this day and beyond, let us honor and celebrate the memory and spirit of my friend Marc Hanson by doing good work while appreciating the gift we've all been given of the opportunity to serve and to build. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Newman. Senator Umberg.
Thank you, Madam President and colleagues. As someone who's known Marc for the last few years in Orange County, I can tell you my life is richer for having known him. He was incredibly popular among all the do-gooders in Orange County. He was an inspiration to my staff, an inspiration to me, and I will carry his legacy forward as best as I am able. Thank you for giving us this gift for as long as we had him. We will all miss him deeply.
Thank you, Senator Umberg. Senator Atkins.
President, thank you so much. To the senators from Orange County, and particularly his supervisor, let me say what an incredible tribute you did today for Marc and his family. And I feel, as the leader of this House, respectfully to my colleagues who allowed me this privilege, I felt it was important for me to speak, especially because his dear family is here today, and that we have this opportunity to celebrate an incredible life. I actually did have the opportunity to meet Marc, whether in this building or out of this building, as the good senator told us of his life, and I'm so glad we got to hear the extended remarks about who Marc was and his work, because it really did encapsulate the photo, along with Senator Newman's remarks, captured this individual. I want to say how privileged it is when you get to serve with a person who is dedicated to public service, and you see it and you feel it. He was working until the last minutes that evening, and I know that because we were working on issues and budget and all the things that we work on. And late at night, I got a call from my chief of staff, who had been on the phone with Marc not that much longer, when he said to me, and he was profoundly shaken. My chief of staff was profoundly shaken, because when he learned of Marc's passing, you stop. You know, sometimes the world has to stop for a moment in the midst of all of this work that we do, this important work that we do, because an incredible light, an incredible public servant, someone that had a life ahead of him to do so much more, was lost. And it really, as I think about how much I appreciate my chief of staff and the fact that he knows the staff that work in this building, and he knows of their potential and their promise and their brilliance, he had to stop that night. And he let me know what was on his heart and his mind. And I think we're all feeling that today. And I think it's so important for Marc's family to know that Marc had more than one family. his incredible family that's here today, all of the individuals that Senator Newman mentioned, his wife, his parents, his siblings, his children, all of these incredible people, but you have a family here today that wants to make sure in the midst of, as we bring to conclusion the work that we do for the citizens of California, for the residents of California, that Marc was an integral part of that. And we feel that today, and we want you to know that. And so thank you for being with us today. Thank you to his family for allowing his Senate family to be part of the celebration of his incredible life. Madam President, thank you.
Madam Pro Tem. Senator Allen.
Marc was also part of another family that has been alluded to by Senator Newman. And that's a family in Washington, D.C., in the Latin American policy community. Marc and I shared something very special. We both worked with the National Democratic Institute for International Affairs, which is an institution that helps to strengthen democracy around the world, and both of us worked on Latin American programs. We would run into the halls here in the Capitol, talk very frequently about our experiences, and I gotta say, my conversations with Marc were the most substantive and fun and fruitful of I think all the conversations I've had in our Capitol halls. We would share stories, and we had so many mutual friends. So I just want to mention on behalf of a whole world of people who love Marc in Washington, D.C., and also all the folks he worked with in Latin America. He spent time with the governance team at NDI in 2010, 2011. He did a whole project involving Central American legislators and bringing them up here to the United States. He worked on the Cuba program at the Washington Office on Latin America. So I've been in touch with a number of very close friends in Washington who were absolutely shocked and saddened by this untimely loss. And so on behalf of the NDI community and the DC community that he and I shared, I also want to express how unspeakable a tragedy this is and what a loss this is for so many people all over the world.
Thank you, Senator Allen. Senator Min.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to just thank my colleague from Fullerton for his eloquent words on Marc. Marc, I'm learning today, was part of a number of families, but he was certainly part of the Orange County political family. And it was in that context over the last 5 years I got to know him. And he is someone who was just relentlessly positive, full of life. He stood out because of that smile, that inability to be disliked or inability to carry negativity. And I think that's what I'm going to carry away from him. I know that all of us in Orange County were just devastated by this news. And I know there's a ceremony coming up in Orange County that will be incredibly crowded. He was beloved by all who knew him in Orange County, and he is a cherished part of our Orange County family, and we will miss him.
Thank you, Senator Min. Senator Laird.
Thank you very much, Madam President. We have heard very eloquently about the different families that Marc was involved with, and one of them is for a number of years, he was a congressional assistant in Washington, D.C. for my Central Coast Congressman Sam Farr. And the last time I talked to Marc, he was very excited because Sam was having his 80th birthday party in Big Sur on July 4th, and he went. And he had an amazing time, and I heard from many people that were at that party about their conversations, how good they were, how great it was to see him, and how shocked they were. And in particular, former Congressman Farr wanted me to pass along his sincere condolences and his grief at the loss, because they had such a close relationship that endured for so long that he participated in that and was considered part of their family. So I wanted to make sure those sentiments were expressed during this ceremony.
Thank you, Senator Laird. Senator Dodd.
Yes, I hadn't intended to speak today, but after seeing this beautiful picture of Marc and hearing the eloquent comments from our colleague, Senator Newman, I just wanted to recant a story of my encounter, one encounter with Marc Hanson. And you know, through the halls with COVID, we're all masked. We tend to just walk by people. We don't notice people. It's just, I was going down the hallway and I was going to be that guy. And he goes, Senator Dodd. I said, yes. He goes, I'm Marc Hanson. And I think he fist bumped me. He didn't shake my hand, of course, but it blew my mind. And about 3 minutes later, we were done. It was just a fantastic conversation. He thanked me for something that I had done. And I just said, wow. I went back in and told my staff person that was in my office about this encounter of this wonderful guy. And then less than 5 days later, we heard the news. So to his family, you just have an amazing son, father, husband. He will be missed.
Thank you, Senator Dodd. Senator Kamlager.
Just wanted to thank the good senator from Fullerton for his eloquent statements as well. You know, this has actually hit my office quite deeply. As a former staff person, you develop really close relationships with staff members from other offices. And, you know, Senator Newman and I have offices right next to each other. And there's some quiet competition because he snatched one of my legislative staffers from my office, but gave her a promotion, so that's okay. And while I was a tad salty in the beginning, I enjoyed the fact that she had this great opportunity, mostly because she was under the tutelage of Marc. And hearing how warm and generous and kind-hearted he was as a chief, that made me feel really good that she was going to be supported by this kind of individual who would help her and would also bring such joy and integrity and love to that office. Our staffs talk a lot because we are so close in proximity in this Capitol. And it has been really tough for the staff in this building because the words that keep coming to me about him are how kind and generous he is, how warm-hearted he is, always walking with a smile, always leading with generosity, the nicest, warmest soul. And so there's always a reason why our universe, why our God takes folks when we think they should still be with us. And we may not always know what that reason is. I have to believe that this angel was needed someplace else. But I just want to share, as someone who cares deeply about the staff in all of our offices and understand the relationship that they have with one another, how incredibly difficult this loss has been, because he was an immensely generous soul, and he will be missed beyond measure.
Thank you, Senator Kamlager.